With all that in his mind, Duryodhana is speaking this. Look at this. With arrogance, he is pointing out. Look at this army that is so close by. It is, you are such a great hero, and not even considering you, they have organized their army into this Vyuha. Just see how they are insulting you. And he says, and everything was set up by Drupada's son, the son of Drupada, your enemy. Drupada had this son, Drishtadyumna, who was born from a fire sacrifice. And he was born just to kill you. And that Drishtadyumna, he has organized this. Just to see their insult of you, how much they're insulting you. And he was a disciple on top of all this, Tava Shishya. Knowing that he is going to become your enemy, still you taught him Dhanurvidya. So the subtext is, you are so brainless. You knew that at some point you are going to face him in war, and then you taught him the entire science of warfare. But he was not unintelligent. He was very intelligent. Dhimata. Tavashishyanam Dhimata. He was very intelligent. He has learned how to kill you from you. He knew that you are going to become his enemy. So he goes to you and learns from you how to kill you. See? So he is very, very intelligent. Basically, all our problems are because of you. This is what is going on in this mind. We depended on you, no? That is why all these problems are coming for us. Duryodhana, a great diplomat, wanted to point out the defects of Dronacharya. Particularly he was bothered that Drona would become lenient. Arjuna especially was his most affectionate and brilliant student. Duryodhana also warned that such leniency in the fight would lead to defeat. Because Dronacharya was a very liberal Brahmana, he taught everything to his enemy's son when he became a student. Okay, text 4. Here in this army, many heroic women who are fighting to Bhima and Arjuna. Great fighters like Vidvan, Virata, and Shastri. No, read 5 and 6 also. There are also great heroic, powerful fighters like Catuspathi, Kakitana, Ashiraja, Kuradi, Kunti Hodu, and Salva. Yudhamanasya Vikranta, Uttamadoksha Griyadana, Saubodravascha, Sarva Yeva Maharatha. There are the might Yudhamani, the very powerful Uttamadoksha, the son of Subhadra and the son of Draupadi. All these warriors are great chariot fighters. So the basic idea is that even though Drishtadyumna was not a very important obstacle, because he considered that Dronacharya might be thinking, what is this one Drishtadyumna? And he has one tiny little army that he has organized. I alone can fully destroy him and his army. So he thought, Duryodhana, he thought that the Acharya might be thinking like this. So he wanted to point out, no, it's not just him alone. There are some very powerful heroes on that side. And therefore he brought out all this. Even though Drishadumna was not a very important obstacle in the face of Dronacharya's very great power in the military art, there were many others who were causes of fear. They are mentioned by Duryodhana as great stumbling blocks on the path of victory, because each and every one of them was as formidable as Bhima and Arjuna. He knew the strength of Bhima and Arjuna. And thus he compared others with them. Okay, I want someone else to read text 7.
Asmakam Purushishtaye Tamidotama Nayatama Sanyasya Samjapam. But for your information, the rest was Brahmins. Let me tell you about the captains who are especially qualified to let them in the Philippines.
Please read the next one.
Bhavan Vishnastakarmascha Vitacha Samichintaya Ashwatamavukarmascha Saumadhyastakayacha. There are personalities like you, Vishnu, Karna, Kripa, Ashwatthama, Vikarna, and the son of Samatata called Bhurishrava, who are always victorious in battle.
So Sri Baladeva Devotana has remarked here that he King Pandavas and Bhitosi. He sensed that Dronacharya might have understood that Duryodhana was frightened of the Pandava army. So considering that, even though he was frightened, he covered his anger, and in spirit of what is the right word for this? Dharshya. Pride, out of pride, he spoke text 7. So, but let me tell you about the captains who can lead my military force. And these people are very special people. Vishishta, Buddhyadi Balashalma. They have intelligence, they have strength. They are all Nayaka, Netara, they are all leaders. I'm just telling you for your information. Why he's telling out of information? Pandava Premna Tvam Chet, no yogs. If out of love for the Pandavas, you don't fight for me. Tadapi Bhishmadi Bhishi Mad Vijaya says it. Still, my victory will be accomplished by Bhishma and others. Eva, certainly. Iti tat popo padanartham jyoti. So he wanted to irritate, make the Acharya angry. So for that sake. Fighting requires anger. Prabhupada explains that fighting requires anger. You cannot fight with a very peaceful, sattvic spirit. Fighting means, but it's controlled anger. Okay. So you are there, and others are there. Vikarna, Bhurishrava. They're all ready to die. They're all ready to die for me. What is not working? So what does it mean? So they cannot hear. No, but if you connect the power. Why this laptop mic is so bad? Okay, I hope you can hear me. Hari Bolo. Let's move on. Okay, there's something interesting here. Okay, text 9. Anyone?
Mr. Bhavan Sura Amadhati Bhakti Jivita Nama Shastra Praharam Sarvavidya Chisarada. There are many other heroes who are prepared to lay down their life for my sake. All of them are well equipped with different kinds of weapons. All are experienced in military science.
No. Here, notice this word. Madarthe Tyakta Jivita. Anecha Bhavashura Madarthe Tyakta Jivita. They literally it means they have given up their lives for my sake. It actually what he wants to say is they have decided to give up their lives for my sake. That is what actually he wants to say. But somehow or other, the actual word that came out was Tyakta Jivita, which indicates that they have actually given up their lives, which means that they're going to die. In other words, it is already concluded that all of them would die in the battle of Kurukshetra for joining the party of the sinful Duryodhana. But Duryodhana had something else in his mind. Itham chet esham sarvesham mayi sneha atirekat shaurya atirekat yuddha pandityascha madvijay siddhye deva iti dyotyate. So then, but then Duryodhana, he was very confident. He was sure that he would win because of different reasons. They were excessively affectionate towards him. They were excessively heroic, and also because they knew how to fight. Just being a hero is not enough. You also need to know how to fight. You need to think, you need to plan. So they had all. Text 10.
Our strength is immeasurable and perfectly protected by grandmother. Whereas the strength of the Pandavas, carefully protected by Brahma, is limited.
Nanu, Ubhayo, Senayos, Tavya, Tavayo, Vidya, Katham Vityasham, Kyaswas, Senyatik, Yam, Aparyam. Then he anticipates that Dronacharya might be thinking, since both the armies are equal, then how do you know that you alone will win? So with this in mind, he speaks this. Our strength is immeasurable, and we are perfectly protected by grandfather Vishnu. Herein an estimation of comparative strength is made by the yogi. He thinks that strength of his armed forces is immeasurable, being specifically protected by the most experienced general grandfather, Bhishma. Whatever. Again, it's not working. What is the plan B for this? No plan B.
No, it doesn't matter. But we will need to they both say that. I'm going to sometimes put the beer seven. You can make it.
Come in. What is the problem now? Is it coming? Is it working? This thing is constantly blinking. Okay. Even now it's on. Take some time. Oh, from China. What is it now? Should I just put a regular speaker? Huh? Yeah. How do we find out whether they can hear? Not ask them. What is that? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know whether you're alive or not. But if you can hear this, please. It is a speaker. It is a speaker. No, mic, mic, mic. And then? Wait. It's correct now. Did you work on it? Okay, if you can hear what if you are there and if you can hear what I'm speaking, please do let me know.
Yeah, it's audible, sir.
It's audible, okay, fine. As low tech as possible. Okay. Herein, an estimation of comparative strength is made by Duryodhana. He thinks that the strength of his armed forces is immeasurable, being specifically protected by the most experienced general grandfather Bhishma. On the other hand, the forces of the Pandavas are limited, being protected by a less experienced general Bhima, who is like a fig in the presence of Bhishma. Duryodhana was always envious of Bhima because he knew perfectly well that if he should die at all, he would only be killed by Bhima. But at the same time, he was confident of his victory on account of the presence of Bhishma, who was a far superior general. His conclusion that he would come out of the battle victorious was well ascertained. Okay, text 11.
All of you must now choose the brand as you stand at your respective strategic points of evidence in the silence of the heart.
Athaiva madukti bhavam vidyaya acharyasche urasita. And now after understanding the spirit of my talk, what if the acharya becomes indifferent? Duryodhana thinks that, okay, so if Bhishma can handle everything, then why do I need to do anything? So then Duryodhana then tries to adjust the situation. That if Dronacharya becomes indifferent, then my mission will be destroyed. So now I'll make him fully responsible for the victory of my mission. With that in mind, he speaks this verse. He's saying that Bhishma is a very important person, but when Bhishma becomes very busy in his own fighting, he might become completely absorbed in the fight. So then now he will need to be protected. I am Ashaya. This is his point. Bhishma asmakam. Bhishma is our grandfather. Bhavastu Guru, and you are our Guru. It is well known that both of you are our full-fledged, sincere well-wishers. And both of you, Akshasadasi, during that gambling, Mat anyayam vidantavati. You knew that I was doing wrong. Draupadya nyayam prishtav. When Draupadi asked for justice, na abochata, you were silent. You did not speak anything in their favor. Mayatu Pandaveshu Pratitam Sneha Abhasam Tyajetum Dathani. I am submitting these words with humility that please give up your apparent affection for the Pandavas. This is the mind of a politician. Thinks one thing, says one thing, does something. Duryodhana, after praising the prowess of Bhishma, further considered that others might think that they had been considered less important. So, in his usual diplomatic way, he tried to adjust the situation in the above words. He emphasized that Bhishma Dev was undoubtedly the greatest hero, but he was an old man. So, everyone must especially think of his protection from all sides. He might become engaged in the fight, and the enemy might take advantage of his full engagement on one side. Therefore, it was important that other heroes not leave their strategic positions and allow the enemy to break the phalanx. Duryodhana clearly felt that the victory of the Kurus depended on the presence of Bhishma Dev. He was confident of the full support of Bhishma Dev and Dronacharya in the battle, because he well knew that they did not even speak a word when Arjuna's wife Draupadi, in her helpless condition, had appealed to them for justice, while she was being forced to appear naked in the presence of all the great generals in the assembly. It was only Krishna who saved him. Ultimately, Krishna is the only protector. The Pandavas, they appeared devoted, even they could not protect. Ultimately, Krishna is always the only protector. Although he knew that the two generals had some sort of affection for the Pandavas, he hoped that these generals would now completely give it up, as they had done during the gambling performances. Okay, text 12.
Then Bhishma, the great, valiant grandsire of the Kuru dynasty, the grandfather of the fighters, blew his conch very loudly, making a sound like the roar of a lion, giving the joy.
Evam Duryodhana Kripamsu Sutim Avadhari. So, having understood Duryodhana's praise of Bhishma himself, he became happy and he wanted to remove Duryodhana's fear. So then he just blew his conch. Mukhatah kinchit anutva shankanada matra karamena jaya parajaya phalu ishwaradhinam padarthe shatadharmena deham tyakshyamiti vyajyate. He didn't speak a single word. Bhishma, no. He just took his conch and blew. So from this, it is indicated that these were the thoughts of Bhishma. Whether we are going to win or lose is under the control of the Supreme Lord. But for your sake, I will give up my body in Kshatriya Dharma. The grandsire of the Kuru dynasty could understand the inner meaning of the heart of his grandson, Duryodhana, and out of his natural compassion for him, he tried to cheer him by blowing his conch shell very loudly, befitting his position as a lion. Indirectly, by the symbolism of the conch shell, he informed his depressed grandson Duryodhana that he had no chance of victory in the battle, because the Supreme Lord Krishna was on the other side. But still, it was his duty to conduct the fight, and no pains would be spared in that connection. This is a Kshatriya spirit. Kshatriyas are not afraid of dying. Not afraid of dying. They are very proud to die. They are very proud to have their body permanently injured, because they know that I'm doing something proper. So Kshatriyas always have that spirit. So Bhishma also is like that. He was happy because he was ready to give up his body in this warfare. Then, text 13.
After that, the councils, drums, buggles, trumpets, and horns were all suddenly sounded, and the combined sound was
Next verse also. ततः सतवयदित्ते महती स्वमनिष्ठितो माधवा वन्दवा सैव दिव्य संज्ञापदमृतो. On the other side, both Lord Krishna and Arjuna station on a great chariot drawn by white horses sounded their fancies by fancy. सेनापतो भीष्मेन्द्र कृते तत्सैन्य सतसात क्षणमेव क्षिप्तादयो अपि वादिताः. As soon as Senapati Bhishma blew his conch, then immediately the conches from that army, they also sounded. So Shabdas Tumalam, Eka Akarataya Maham, that sound was tumultuous. It was a very loud sound and it all merged into a single sound. Previously, one ecologist has said previously, wars were fought not to kill, wars were fought to dominate. It was fought, because the idea was not to kill the opponent, the idea was to keep the opponent alive. You should be alive, I will not kill you. The whole life you should serve. This was the idea. So they were not eager to easily kill. They had the habit of doing different things to frighten the opponent, so that out of fear at least you will surrender. You don't need a war, you just need to surrender, that's all. You just have to fall at our feet. So throughout the world, before wars began, they had the habit of playing musical instruments and all that. They shout and scream and do all kinds of things to simply frighten the opponents. This killing, unnecessary killing, is distinctly a modern feature. The modern world, they take and put a bomb in some hospital and kill a one-day-old child. This is all craziness. In proper warfare, like in the Vedic system, only the Kshatriyas fight with other Kshatriyas in some faraway battlefield. The civilians are not disturbed. Prabhupada pointed out that you don't disturb all this Brahmanas and Vaishyas, Shudras, and people lower than Kshatriyas. You fight with them. Kshatriya fight with Kshatriya. That's all. So you go to another place, and he said, "What is this? You're dragging on in a war for so many years, like World War I, World War II. It dragged on for so many years. What is this? You want to fight? Go to one way, fight. Every day, fight and you'll die. That's all. Finish. Finish it up. Simply dragging it on for so many years, simply harassing the country. So much money is lost. 5 minutes fight. For everything as a system. For everything as a system. Here also we noticed that they have all musical instruments. So it was to dominate, it is not to actually destroy. It was a compassionate arrangement, because we know that men will always be men. Fight at any given opportunity, they want to fight and take a sword, or nowadays they take a gun, shoot, that's all. But for that, civilized violence, not uncivilized violence. Women are very fond of civilized violent people. So Kshatriyas are fond of that. Atha Pandava Sainye Pravritam Yuddhotsavam Tatha. So then the Yuddha Utsava, see, it's a festival, it's a sportive event. They are not afraid of fighting at all, they're not afraid of dying. Fight, they come back with wounds, then their wives are very happy. Wow, husband is decorated with so many wounds. That entire spirit, Kshatriyas are very much glorified for this. I think that even in today's world, in different countries, people who go to the military are considered heroes, generally. And at least they are willing to die for the civilians. So for that they are respected. Far better than some Shudra sportsman, something like that. These people are actually willing to die for others. So that the festival of war began amongst the Pandava people also. Anyasham api rathasya tattve satyapi Krishnarjuna rathasya tattva tad rathasya agnidattatvam trailokya vijetatvam patvam cha vyajyate. Even though so many of people in that Pandava group were standing on their chariots. Specifically, this description is there, description of the chariot on which Krishna and Arjuna were standing. That is because that particular chariot had been donated by the demigod Agni. And that particular chariot could conquer over the three worlds. And that particular chariot had great power. It had great power. So that is indicated here. In contrast with the conch shell blown by Bhishma Dev, the conch shells in the hands of Krishna and Arjuna are described as transcendental. Divya Shankho Pradarshana. The sounding of the transcendental conch shells indicated that there was no hope of victory for the other side because Krishna was on the side of the Pandavas. Jayastu Pandavutranam Yesham Pakshe Janardana. Victory is always with persons like the sons of Pandu because Lord Krishna is associated with them. And whenever and wherever the Lord is present, the goddess of fortune is also there because the goddess of fortune never lives alone without her husband. Therefore, victory and fortune were awaiting Arjuna, as indicated by the transcendental sound produced by the conch shell of Vishnu or Lord Krishna. Besides that, the chariot on which both the friends were seated had been donated by Agni, the fire god, to Arjuna. And this indicated that this chariot was capable of conquering all sides, wherever it was drawn over the three worlds. Okay, text 15.
Lord Krishna brings conscience called Panchajanya, Arjuna gave his Devadatta, and Bhima, the gracious leader and performer of Herculean task, gave his terrific conscience called Kundu.
Okay. Now, Panchajanya Mityadi, Panchajanya Adaya, Krishna Adishankana. These are all names of specific conch shells. Atra Rishikesh Shabdena Parameshwara Sahayatva. Here, Lord Krishna is specifically referred to by the name Rishikesh, which itself indicates that the Pandavas were assisted by the Supreme Lord himself. Rishikesh, the Lord of the senses. That is a very important expression. Lord Krishna is referred to as Rishikesh in this verse because he is the owner of all senses. The Lord, situated in the hearts of all living entities, directs their senses, but he directs in terms of the surrender of the living entity. And in case of a pure devotee, he directly controls the senses. Here on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, the Lord directly controls the transcendental senses of Arjuna, and thus his particular name of Rishikesh. The Lord has different names according to different activities. For example, his name is Madhusudana because he killed the demon of the name Madhu. His name is Govinda because he gives pleasure to the cows and to the senses. His name is Vasudeva because he appeared as a son of Vasudeva. His name is Devaki Nandana because he accepted Devaki as his mother. His name is Yashoda Nandana because he awarded his child and pastimes to Yashoda and Vrindavan. His name is Master Sarathi because he worked as charioteer of his friend Arjuna. Similarly, his name is Rishikesh because he gave direction to Arjuna on the battlefield of Kurukshetra. Panchajanyadi Shabdai Prasiddha Ahvaya Aneka Divya Shankha Vatva. From list of these names of these conch shells, it is indicated that, first of all, they had very famous conch shells. You don't hear about Duryodhana's conch shell being named. You don't hear about the various Kauravas, their conch shells being named. But these conch shells had particular names. They were very famous. And apart from that, they were also divine conch shells. They were not human, easily accessible to human beings. Each of them were given by celestial beings and so on. Raja, Bhimakarma, Dhananjaya. Notice that Yudhishthira is referred to as Raja. Vrikodara, Bhima is referred to as Bhimakarma. Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya. These are also significant. Because Yudhishthira, he conducted the Rajasuya sacrifice. And Bhima, he actually executed very terrible activities like killing Hidimba and others. And Arjuna, he is referred to as Dhananjaya, meaning that he conquered a lot of wealth, which he actually did. He actually brought wealth for the Rajasuya. So it is indicated that the Pandava are extremely exalted. But you don't find any description like this amongst the Kauravas. Therefore, we understand that the Kaurava army is very, very inferior. Arjuna is referred to as Dhananjaya in this verse. Bhima is known as Vrikhodara because he could eat voraciously. He could perform Herculean tasks. On the other side, there were no such credit, nor the presence of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Director, nor that of the Goddess of Fortune. Why the Goddess of Fortune comes into picture? See in text 14, page 42, you would see Madhava Pandavas Chaiva. Krishna is referred to as Madhava. In the word meanings, you'll see Madhava means Krishna, the husband of the Goddess of Fortune. So from this, we understand that Sanjaya was very, very intelligent. He intelligently referred to specific noteworthy happenings. Okay, I want someone to read out 16, 17, 18.
Anantayam Raja Kunchi Prishiraha Nakula Sakadeva Subhosam Puspaka Vasecha Parameshvasa Siddhandisha Maharataha Hristadyogna Virapascha Satyadisha Paraditaha Drupada Draupade Yasta Sarvashakti Pripate Saupadrascha Mahabahu Sankhavatma Vipakrita King Yudhishthira, the son of Kunti, believed his conshare Ananta Vijaya and Nakula and Sahadeva, blew their Subhosha and Manipushpaka. That great archer, the king of Kashi, the great fighter Shikandi, Drishtadyumna, Virat, the unconquerable Satyajit, Drupada, the sons of Draupadi, and the others, the king, such as the mighty armed son of Subhadra, all blew their respective conchas.
So notice here that Yudhishthira is referred to as Raja. This is what Sri Baladeva was mentioning. Ananta Vijayam Raja. Kunti Putru Yudhishthira. Nakula Sahadeva, their conches are Subhosha and Manipushpaka. So these are all noteworthy conches. Chaparajitaha, Dhanusha. They were all shining with their bows. Prithivipate Dhritarashtrayati Tava Durmantrana Udayaha Kulakshaya Lakshanaha Anathaha Samasanta. So Sanjay is basically pointing out it's all because of your wrong advice that this entire dynasty is going to be destroyed. This entire problem has come about because of you. Sanjay informed King Dhritarashtra very tactfully that his unwise policy of deceiving the sons of Pandu and endeavoring to enthrone his own sons on the seat of the kingdom was not very laudable, not very praiseworthy. The signs already clearly indicated that the whole Kuru dynasty would be killed in that great battle, beginning with the grandson Bhishma, down to the grandsons like Abhimanyu and others, including kings from many states of the world. All were present there and all were doomed. The whole catastrophe was due to King Yudhishthira because he discouraged the policy followed by his son, because he encouraged the policy followed by his son. Dhritarashtra is like the personification of weak determination, weakness of heart. Many times he says, in fact, the Mahabharata begins with Dhritarashtra's lamentations. More than 50 verses he speaks. It all goes like this. I knew that I knew he will be lost. And then he starts with one brief not. I knew when the Pandavas had gone. I knew when this event happened. I knew when Arjuna refused to marry Uttara that year. I knew that when Arjuna went to the heavenly planets, because he always wanted to take over, either peacefully or through war. That was always his plan B. There must be a war. And so points out that I knew if there is a war, it will be. So he knew, but he could never stop it. It's all weak determination. When you are hyper sentimental, this one. You could have just told Duryodhana, just stop it. Not possible. So too much attachment leads to these kind of problems. Okay, text 19.
Going up to the different council, you can approach it. Targeting both in the sky and on earth, it scattered the earth on the front of the trust.
पाण्डवै कृत शङ्करादः धार्तराष्ट्राणां भीष्मादीनां सर्वेषां हृदयानि व्यतारयत्. This sound from the conchs produced by the Pandavas, it shattered the hearts. It shattered the hearts of all of the Dhritarashtra's sons and Bhishma and others. Tad vidaranatulyam pidam ajanayat. It means that it gave them that much of pain as if their hearts were to be actually shattered. It made them very, very disturbed. Tumula Atitivra was very, very terrible. Abhyanu Nadayan. Pratibhnebili Pure. Terrible. This is Atitivra. It filled the sky with echoes. Dhartarashtra Kritastu Shankadi Nadas. Tumulopi, Tesham Kinchidapi Kshobham Na Ajanayat. It should be understood that when the sons of Dhritarashtra, when they blew their conches, even though they were very loud, it never created any agitation, because that is not mentioned here at all. When Bhishma and the others on the side of Duryodhana blew their respective conches, there was no fun breaking on the part of the Pandavas. Such occurrences were not mentioned, but in this particular verse it is mentioned that the hearts of the sons of Dhritarashtra were shattered by the sounds vibrated by the Pandavas' party. This is due to the Pandavas and their confidence in Lord Krishna. One who takes shelter of the Supreme Lord has nothing to fear even in the midst of the greatest calamity. So anyone who has surrendered under Krishna's lotus feet. The Pandavas were perfect examples of those who had surrendered into Krishna's lotus feet. Even though they are so capable, they were always surrendered into Krishna's lotus feet. So therefore they had no fear. And because they had no fear, it should be not bothered. 20.
At that point, Arjuna, the son of Pandava, seated inside of the waving flag after the Hanuman, took up his bow and prepared to shoot his arrows. So he, after looking at the sons of Dhritarashtra, drawn and used the arrows, Arjuna did spoke loudly and in words.
एवं धार्तराष्ट्राणां युद्धे भीतिं प्रदर्श्य पाण्डवानां तु तत्र उत्साहमाह अखेति साधकेन. So having pointed out that the sons of Dhritarashtra were frightened during the war, frightened about the war, the Pandavas were rather enthusiastic about the war. Now that is pointed out in 1.5 verses. Atha Ripu Shankhanada Krita Utsaha Bhanga Anantaram Vyavastitam Tad Bhanga Virodhi Yutsaya Vastitam Dhatarashtam Bhishmadi Kapidhvajata Arjuna Jena Shri Dasaratherapi Mahanti Karyani Purasaritan Vena Mahavirena Dhvajam Aditishta Hanumata Anugrahita Bhegandi Shunya Ityartha. Arjuna he was not even slightly frightened because he was blessed by Hanuman, who had agreed to become present in a flank. And Hanuman himself was a great warrior from the past. He had accomplished very great missions on behalf of the son of Sri Dasharath in Lord Ram's customs. So Arjuna had no fear. Arjuna wanted to see the sons of Dhritarashtra, Bhishma, and others who were standing in that place, in that battlefield. They were all enthusiastic, but then after all this blowing of the conch shells, then he wanted to see. He Mahipate Prabhute Pravartamane Shikesham iti Rishikesham Sarvendra Pravartikam Krishnam Chandram Vakyam Vach. Then Arjuna he spoke to Rishikesham. This indicates that Krishna is the one who impels all the senses. Sarveshwaraha Harihi Esham Niyajyaha Esham Tad Ekanta Bhaktanam Pandavanam Vijaya Sandeha Gandhopina Tivava. The idea is that Hari is the controller of all, and he has been employed by them. So that indicates that they were single-pointed devotees of Lord Hari. So then there is not even the slightest doubt about their victory. This is what he is implying here. The battle was just about to begin. It is understood from the above statement that the sons of Dhritarashtra were more or less disheartened by the unexpected arrangement of military force by the Pandavas, who were guided by the direct instructions of Lord Krishna on the battlefield. We all know very well that when Lord Krishna asked Duryodhana and on this side Arjuna, what do you want? Do you want me or do you want my army? Then Duryodhana, without a second thought, he asked for Krishna's army. And Arjuna, without a second thought, asked for Krishna. So they were fully surrendered into Krishna's lotus. That is, whereas Duryodhana and others, they never understood that Krishna is the supreme being. That is something that he could not understand. He always thought that Krishna might be some very powerful person, but he could never understand that Krishna is the one and only supreme powerful person. Never did. The emblem of Hanuman on the flag of Arjuna is another sign of victory, because Hanuman cooperated with Lord Ram in the battle between Rama and Ravana, and Lord Ram emerged victorious. Now both Ram and Hanuman were present on the chariot of Arjuna to help him. Lord Krishna is Ram himself, and wherever Lord Ram is eternal servitor Hanuman, and his eternal consort Sita, the goddess of fortune, are present. And therefore Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever. So Arjuna is referred to as Kapidwaja, Krishna is referred to as Rishikesha, Krishna was previously referred to as Madhava. So all of this indicates that it is this paksha, this party, this side that is going to win. Previously, already we know from the Ramayana that Ramachandra won, because wherever Sita, Ram, Lakshman, Hanuman, they are there will definitely be victory. Therefore, Arjuna had no cause to fear any enemies whatsoever. And above all, the Lord of the senses, Lord Krishna, was personally present to give him direction. Thus, all good counsel was available to Arjuna in the matter of executing the battle. In such auspicious conditions, arranged by the Lord for his eternal devotee, lay the signs of assured victory. 21, 22.
Arjuna was Sena Arjuna said, O infallible one, please draw my chariot between the two armies so that I may see those present here to desire the fight and with whom I must contend in the great trial of arms.
Arjuna's Vakyam. These are Arjuna's words. Sena Yavrati. Hey Arjuna. हे अच्युतेति स्वभाव सिद्धात् भक्तवात्सल्यात् पारमैश्वर्याच्च न च्यवस्ये स्म इति तेन तेन च नियन्त्रित भक्तस्य मे वाक्यात् तत्र रथं स्थितं कुरु निर्भय Okay. So in text 21, he is saying,
Because in that, right, 3 lines are there sometimes. Anytime 2 lines, about the time, sometimes
yeah, many times.
3 lines.
No,
He was
first of all,
given-
these are two different. You see, it's a two different shlokas. Look at the number, it's two different shlokas.
2 different stuff over there. One stuff is 1 line.
You are asking why one shloka is one line? That's the answer. We only wrote it, it's not wrong. The rules of Sanskrit poetry allow that. Sometimes you can do that. Okay, more serious matters. See, he is referring to Lord Krishna by the name Achyuta. Achyuta. Oh, infallible one. So the actual Sanskrit name is Achyuta. Achyuta means the one who doesn't fall down. Swabhava Siddha Bhakta Vatsalya. You never fall down from your natural affection for your devotees. You never fall down from your supreme opulent position. So he indicates that. So therefore, your position is not going to become diminished because I'm requesting you to do something. I'm requesting you to move the chariot to a particular place from which I can see. You are always the Supreme Lord, and your affection for him also will never diminish. Therefore, on that basis, I'm requesting this. So that is indicated here. Yodhukama, Matu Saha, Asmavi Sandhim Shikeshu. I want to see all these people. These people, they are interested in the war. They are not interested in peace. And strictly speaking, even now they could stop the war. But as we all know, when you're caught up by Rajogana, very difficult to stop. The more and more we enter into the spirit of it, the more and more it becomes difficult to stop. This is one of the major difficulties with the lust and the greed. When lust increases, you cannot stop it. Same way when anger increases, you cannot stop. When greed also increases, you cannot stop. These are very, very big dangers, great dangers. Avasthitam, atu bhitya prachalitam. I want to see all these people standing here. I don't want to see people who, out of fear, ran away. Nanutvam yodha, atu yodha prekshakaha. Tataha tad darshanena kinti. When he anticipated that Lord Krishna might be thinking, you're going to fight or you're going to watch this war. What is the use of simply watching? Take your weapon and fight. So he anticipated that Krishna might be thinking along these lines. And with that in mind, he speaks text 22, which is the single line. I just want to see with whom I'm meant to fight. I want to know who these people are. Asmin Bandhunam Eva Mithana Rana Udyogi. This is an undertaking amongst family people. So I want to know, Kair Bandhuvi Saha, with which relative, with which friend, I am meant to fight. Eta Jnanaya Eva Madhya Rathastha. I need to know this. Therefore, I am requesting you, please bring the chariot in between both the armies. Although Lord Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, out of his causeless mercy, he was engaged in the service of his friend. He never fails in his affection for his devotees, and thus he is addressed herein as infallible, Achyuta. As charioteer, he had to carry out the orders of Allah, and since he did not hesitate to do so, he is addressed as infallible. Although he had accepted the position of a charioteer for his devotee, his supreme position was not challenged. In all circumstances, he is the supreme personality of God, Rishikesha, the Lord of the total senses. The relationship between the Lord and the servitor is very sweet and transcendental. The servitor is always ready to render service to the Lord, and similarly, the Lord is always seeking an opportunity to render some service to the devotee. He takes greater pleasure in his pure devotees, assuming the advantageous position of ordering him, than he does in being the giver of orders. But this is only if that devotee is a pure devotee. If I'm an impure devotee and I want Krishna to engage in my service, Krishna really becomes irritated. Since he is master, everyone is under his orders, and no one is above him to order him. But when he finds that a pure devotee is ordering him, he obtains transcendental pleasure, although he is the infallible master in all circumstances. As a pure devotee of the Lord, Arjuna had no desire to fight with his cousins and brothers, but he was forced to come onto the battlefield by the obstinacy of Duryodhana, who was never agreeable to any peaceful negotiation. Therefore, he was very anxious to see who the leading persons present on the battlefield were. Although there was no question of a peacemaking endeavor on the battlefield, he wanted to see them again and to see how much they were bent upon demanding an unwanted want. Yes, sir.
So what is the difference between these two verses, 21 and 22? It seems that Arjuna repeated the same message. Who desire to fight, and with whom I must contend. What is the difference? What is the difference between these phrases?
Class teachers wanted to see which people are standing and who didn't run away. Oh, I must give you some background information. Usually when there's a war, people run away. And it's very useful to know who ran away. Even Yudhishthira later on, through his piety, it comes in Mahabharata. He gives an actual list of which people fought on both sides, and how many people died, how many people ran away. He gives this list. Amongst, it is recognized, just like there are first class Brahmins, second class Brahmins, third class Brahmins. It is also recognized there are first class Kshatriyas, second class Kshatriyas, third class. So Arjuna wanted to see who were the people who had, after all of this, who were still there, willing to fight and die. He wanted to see. Typically, this is not a very unusual thing, because the Kshatriyas have a lot of appreciation for even their enemies to follow Kshatriya, like Abhimanyu, for instance, a young boy, 16 years old. And when he came and fought, it was like a spectacle for the day. Everybody was just amazed. It took 7 people to kill him. So, I didn't want to see, who are these people who are standing. He wants to see. But then in the next verse, our text 22, apart from that, he also wants to notice who are the relatives with whom he had to fight personally. So in a big army, there are all kinds of people. Also, the tasks are all divided. Certain people are meant to attack certain people. Certain people are meant to, some people go first, some people go next. Some are just meant to protect. So Arjuna wanted to have a clear idea of what is there. Also in the Mahabharata history, they had taken vows. Bhima had taken the vow that he would kill all the 100 sons of Dhritarashtra. I think Nakula or Sahadeva vowed that he would kill Shakuni. Yes. So in that way, they had their individual missions. So it looks like he wanted to understand whom he needs to face. He wants to see all this. Initially, he just wanted to see who are present there, but then he also wanted to develop the desire. As he's developing the desires, he's speaking simultaneously. He's pointing out that I also want to see who are these people who are talking. And we will very soon see that he is going to understand the situation very differently. Now he's speaking like a proper Kshatriya. Now I want to see who are my opponents, who I have to fight them, who I have to kill, all these things. So then very soon you will see that he will start thinking in a very completely non-dharmic manner. So as his thought processes are moving on, it is all being explicated. It's just coming out of his mouth. Okay, 23.
यस्य मनन अपेक्षां तत्र समागताः चतुश्चवः. Let me see those who are come here to fight, wishing to place the even-minded son of Dhritarashtra.
ननु बन्धुत्वादेते बन्धुमेव विधास्यन्ति इति चेत्. Oh, but they are your friends, they are your relatives. Maybe they've come to present an offer of peace. Would that be possible? So then Arjuna anticipates that Krishna might think like this, and when he says, he speaks the current verse. No, these people have come for a war. They have not come to offer peace proposals. So I want to observe who these people are. Durbuddhe, Udhiya, Swajivana Upaya, Anavigyasya, Yudhe, Natu Durbuddhya Panaya. So these people are brainless. They don't understand that they are going to lose their life. Ato mad yuddha pratiyogi nirikshanam yukta. So therefore it is appropriate that I want to see who are my opponents in this war. It was an open secret that Duryodhana wanted to usurp, steal, take away the kingdom of the Pandavas by evil plans in collaboration with his father Dhritarashtra. Therefore all persons who had joined the side of Duryodhana must have been birds of the same feather. Arjuna wanted to see them on the battlefield before the fight was begun, just to learn who they were, but he had no intention of proposing peace negotiations with them. It was also the fact that he wanted to see them to make an estimate of the strength which he had to face, although he was quite confident of victory because Krishna was sitting by his side. Okay. So he wanted also to estimate. That's another reason. It's not that because you are surrendered unto Krishna, you throw away your intelligence. You are supposed to use your intelligence. Because even when we are surrendered unto Krishna, Krishna will only help when he feels like helping. He will not help whenever we feel that he should help. So we are meant to give our body, mind, intelligence fully unto Krishna by fully utilizing. So therefore, in a war you need to estimate. You cannot, if your opposition is too strong and you're alone, then you need to actually go back and come back with equal strength or greater strength in order to win. So all of that requires some practical observation. So that's another thing that you can notice here. As the Varnas go higher and higher, the members of those Varnas also are more and more independent in their thinking. So Kshatriyas are quite independent in their thought. Brahmanas are supremely independent in their thinking. Each Brahmana will think independent of each other. Because the more you are allowed to be, the higher your Varna is, the more selfless you are meant to be, first of all. And you are meant to have a superior understanding of how to contribute to society. So therefore, you are given more freedom. So the Shudras are given least freedom. Vaishyas, little bit more relaxed. Kshatriyas, more relaxed. Brahmanas, more relaxed. So if somebody is a genuine Brahmana, he's allowed to. That's why they don't interfere. The government, Kshatriyas, and all, they don't interfere. Each Brahmana will have his own setup. Will be teaching. They'll only keep checking whether he's whether he is up to his standard. That's all. You come below the standard, then you are arrested. But if you're on your platform of Sattva, they'll just worship you from a distance. Because we know whatever you want to do will be good. We are incapable of coming up to your standard. You are at least doing good to this world. They'll help you. That's all. They will leave it like that. Same way, Kshatriyas also, they're quite independent in that thought. So even though you can say that, why is Arjuna wanting to make an estimate? Why Yudhishthira also did it? Drishtadyumna must have done. They all do, but each one independently they'll think. Even though it's a combined mission, the Kshatriyas think independently. It's quite good actually. It's quite good. And with the Brahmanas, it is even more. That too, when they are preaching the message of the scriptures and so on, each one thinks independently. Like for instance, if you look at the Tattvavadi group itself, how much they attack Mayavad. Each one will independently keep writing. It's not that each time they will go and catch their teacher or guru's feet and say, can you please say something, and you dictate, I will write. No, he is supposed to think on his own. He is supposed to come up with his own arguments why Mayavad is independent, thoughtful. Brahmanas are meant to be independently thoughtful. Very important principle.
I heard the Sri Guru they wanted wanted to create a class of independently thinking Brahmins.
So it is one of the most famous Paribhasha sutras among certain devotees with this.
It doesn't mean yes.
So it means, but we need to have devotees who use their own brains. Krishna consciousness movement is for training men to be independently thoughtful and competent in all types of departments of knowledge and action, not for making bureaucracy. Once there is bureaucracy, the whole thing will be spoiled. There must always be individual striving and work and responsibility, competitive spirit, not that one shall dominate and distribute benefits to the others and they do nothing but beg from you and you provide. This is how it's meant to be. It has to be accepted with a sportive spirit. Come on, let's do something interesting in life. Go through some challenges. Not that, you simply become a yes man. Yes, yes, yes. And then they give you food, they give you rice, they give you this thing. You just shut up and listen to me and I will provide everything for you. That is okay if you have a Shudra nature, etc. But if you have, and there are people who need to be like that, because Shudras are, I've been told this, and it seems to be correct, that Shudras are primarily interested in Kama. Vaishyas are primarily interested in Artha. Kshatriyas are primarily interested in Dharma. Brahmanas are primarily interested in Moksha. So, if you give so much freedom to a Shudra, then you create a big mess. Or a Vaishya. Imagine you have a Vaishya temple president. For him, the entire temple is just like a minus. You bring money, they'll respect you. You get cheese subject. If you don't bring money, whereas if that's a Kshatriya, he's always thinking about how to protect, fight, how to have a sex and protect him. Brahmana, he value renunciation, he values Sattva-guna, and he always want to promote it. And that is appropriate also. Everybody should be placed in that situation. It's not that if I have a Shudra nature, I'm wrong. Rather, if I have a Shudra nature, I should be given reliable masters. I should be given reliable master. If I'm given a reliable master, I'm happy to serve. I'm happy to do whatever you say, I'll do. But I need to have a reliable master. Reliable master means reliable for whole life. And everybody is valuable. Shudra is also very valuable. Without Shudras, it's very difficult to run a community. Similarly, without proper Vaishyas, it's very difficult. Without proper Kshatriyas, it's difficult. You just need to identify potential Brahmana, potential Kshatriya, potential Vaishya, potential Shudras. And each of them need to be trained to become accomplished Brahmanas, accomplished Kshatriyas, accomplished Vaishyas, accomplished Shudras. And they should be put in their respective places. That's all. So the Shudra has to be there. It's not that Shudra is not important. Prabhupada also said, like in the universal body, there is a head which represents the Brahmanas, and the arms which represent Kshatriyas, the stomach which represents the Vaishyas, the feet which represent the Shudras. And Prabhupada said, I will not allow you to hurt my feet. My feet is very important for me. You cannot even hurt my toe. It's very important for me. So the Shudra, the Vaishya, the Kshatriya, the Brahman, everybody is in it. But between them, you should just organize it in such a manner that the Brahmana should be on the top, meaning that what they say should be followed. Below that should be the Kshatriya. That means you need to have Brahmanas who are surrendered to Vishnu. Vishnu is on top in Varnashram. Varnashramacharavatta Purushena Parakuman Vishnu Rarathatekam. You know Vishnu. The Brahmanas. The Brahmanas are meant to be dependent on Vishnu. They should, the moment Brahmanas become dependent on lower, finished. Everything will collapse. The Brahmanas should be independent of everybody else, meaning that even if the others don't listen to them, the Brahmana will stick to his stand. For his executing his Varna duty, a Brahmana will never depend on people who are lower than him. Similarly, a Kshatriya will never depend on Vaishya. Similarly, a Vaishya will not depend on lower people. So the more independent you are, the more powerful you become. Because you're already independent, no? Imagine you have a genuine Brahman in Krishna consciousness. Even if nobody listens to him, he's not bothered. He's not bothered. He's fixed in his sadhana, he's fixed. Whoever listens to him, he benefits. Whoever doesn't, you're the one who are, suppose you're a big community. You're not listening to a genuine Brahman. You'll never come to Satubha. So who's losing? The Brahmana is not losing now. He's making spiritual progress. If you also want to make spiritual progress, listen to him. Similarly, if you have a genuine Kshatriya, the genuine Kshatriya will provide yogakshan because Kshatriyas have that spirit. You fall at his feet, he will take care of you. He will take care of you. As long as you genuinely listen to his instructions, he'll protect you. And Kshatriyas, they have that Ishvara bhava. I'm the one. I'm the one. They have that ego. They know that that ego is a problem. From the Brahmanical point of view, it's a problem. But from the Vaishya Shudra point of view, it is a very great virtue. Because Vaishyas can never think like it. Shudra will never think of anything like it. He simply is a selfish fellow. Shudra is most selfish. Vaishya, little bit less selfish. Kshatriya, even less selfish. Brahmana is selfless. So when you organize it properly, then it will be very nice. And Prabhupada wanted that we should all develop to become Brahmanas to do good to the world. When we move towards track 3 and we move up in track 3 also, we'll naturally start developing Brahmanical nature. So overall, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's movement will produce that. Overall, will produce that. We should just agree to make spiritual progress. If we agree to make spiritual progress, then things will be not too difficult. Okay, let's move on. 24.
Sanjay Uvacha Evam Yukto Rishikesho Bhakti Bharata Sanyati Devanakti Atitam Yatotam Atantam Tatantam. Sanjay said, O descendant of Bharata, having thus been addressed by Arjuna, Lord Krishna and way of the fine chariot in the midst of the enemies of both parties.
Here, notice two words, Rishikesha and Budakeshena. Budaka. Budakesha comes from Budaka. Budaka plus Ishaha is Budakesha, which is transformed into Budakeshena. Budaka Nidra. Tasya Ishaha. Gudaka means sleep, and Gudakesha means the Lord of Sleep, which indicates that he had conquered sleep. Swasakha Shri Bhagavad Gunalavanya Smriti Niveshena Vijitanatra. He had conquered his sleep because he was completely absorbed in remembrance of the charm, of the qualities of his dear friend Shri Bhagavan. Tat Paramabhakta. So Arjuna was the first class devotee of the Supreme Lord. Tena Arjuna Eva Muktam. These words were spoken by Arjuna, who had this nature. Evam Pravardita Rishikesha. Tat Chitta Vrityabhigyaha. Rishikesha indicates that Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, very clearly understood what was going on in Arjuna's mind. Senayor Madhya, between the two armies, he placed the chariot. That is what he had asked, and Lord Krishna also did that. Bhishma Dronayo Sarvesham Cha Mahikshitam. So he placed the chariot in front of Bhishma, Drona, and the other great warriors. And he praised this Vathottamam, this fine chariot, Agnitattva, which was given by Agni. Partha Rishikesha Shabdabhyam Idam Suchyate. Mat Pitrus Swastri Putratvat Svat Saratyam Aham Vishyami Evam. Tvam tu adhana eva yutsam yakshi vishyasi iti kim shatru saini vikshana iti sa upahasava. Here, Partha and Rishikesha have been used, two words. And this indicates that Lord Krishna understood and he thought like this, that you are the son of Pritha, Kunti, and I'm your cousin. Because I'm your cousin, I have accepted this position of being a chariot driver for you. But I can do this much for you, but you're now going to give up this desire to fight now. Just wait and see. You're going to look at all these people and you're going to give up your all this desire. In this verse, Arjuna is referred to as Gudakesha. Gudaka means sleep, and one who conquers sleep is called Gudakesha. Sleep also means ignorance. So Arjuna conquered both sleep and ignorance because of his friendship with Krishna. 25.
In the presence of Vishnu, Gauranga, and all the other chieftains of the world, the Lord said, just behold, Partha, all the rules somebody gave.
So the Lord could understand. He could understand what is just now about to happen. As a friend, he wanted to inform Arjuna that because Arjuna was son of this, I will go. Did Arjuna want to stop there and not fight? Krishna never expected such things from the son of his aunt Pritha. The mind of Arjuna was just protected by the Lord in friendly joking. 26.
Within the midst of the armies and both parties, his father was ran for the teachers, brothers, sons, friends, and also the father-in-law and relatives.
Evam Bhagavata Uttaha Arjuna Parasenama Pashu. So because the Supreme Personality of Godhead requested Arjuna, Arjuna looked at the opposite army. That is spoken in 1.5 verses. On the battlefield, Arjuna could see all kinds of relatives. He could see persons like Guru Shrava, who were his father's contemporaries, grandfathers Vishnu and Somadatta. teachers like Dronacharya and Kripacharya, maternal uncles like Shalya and Shakni, brothers like Duryodhana, sons like Lakshmana, fathers like Ashwatthama, well-wishers like Kritavarma, etc. You could see also the armies which contained many of his friends. So you saw both armies. 27 and 28.
And the son of Kunti, Arjuna, so all these different grades of friends and relatives became overwhelmed with compassion and stateless. Arjuna Vata, Vishwema, Sojana, Krishna, Yusum, Amatasidam, Vitantina, Tatrani, Mukanja, Parishishkari. Arjuna said, my dear Krishna, see my friends and relatives present before me in such a powerful spirit. I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth dying.
अथ सर्वेश्वरः दयालुः कृष्णः सपरिकर आत्म उपदेशेन विष्णुं बुद्धिर्षुः अर्जुनं शिष्यं कर्तुं तत् स्वधर्मे अपि युद्धे मा हिंस्यात् सर्वभूतानि इति श्रुत्या अर्थ आभासेन अधर्मताम् आभास्य तं सम्मोहं कृतवान् इत्याह तान् समीक्ष्य इति कौन्तेय इति. So now the Supreme Lord of all, who was most compassionate, Lord Krishna, he wanted to deliver the entire world by giving instructions about himself and his energies. And he wanted to make Arjuna his disciple. Now, in order to do that, he had to find a reason to make Arjuna into a disciple. So therefore, what he did was, he made Arjuna think that right now Arjuna's duty is yuddha, war. But he made him think that even though Arjuna's own swadharma is war, he made him think that actually there is some other Vedic statement which says, Mahimsyat sarvabhutam, don't hurt any creature. So he made Arjuna think that therefore he should not fight. So this is all Mahimsyat sarvabhutam, a gentle instruction. Don't hurt any creature. But the same Vedic scripture also says that Kshatriyas must fight under particular circumstances. So when it says don't hurt any creature, it means under bona fide circumstances, when you have to go for a war, go for a war. But apart from that, don't hurt any creature, is what it means. But he made Arjuna think that no. Actually, I should not participate in this war at all. I should follow the principle of ahimsa. So he made him misunderstand the teachings of the Shruti and bewildered him. And then he put him under delusion and lamentation. That's what has happened here. Made him unnecessarily compassionate. There is something called unnecessary compassion. We learn 5th canto, Srimad Bhagavatam. Bharat Maharaj, he became compassionate upon a deer. So Sri Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, this is wrong compassion, because it is compassion which will do neither good to the deer nor good to yourself. This kind of compassion is a wrong compassion. He thought so much about the deer. Then that deer became some great spiritual Vaishnava in next life. No, that also didn't. Rather, he himself lost one lifetime. One lifetime, so much of time is gone. He had to be born as a deer. So ultimately, he did not do good to himself, nor did he do good to others also. So everything has to be very carefully thought. Here, his kripa, Arjuna's mercy, that itself is anartha. Kripaya paraya, which can also be split into kripaya aparaya, which means that he had compassion for his own army also. Kaunteya shoka vyakulam yadaha tad manuvadati drishtva. And when the son of Kunti became overwhelmed by lamentation, what did he speak? That is now set out from text 28 onwards. Swajana Swabandhu Vargam Gata Vegavacham. Dritva Avasitasya Vagatrani. By seeing all this, I become very, very disturbed. You can see the symptoms noted here. I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying. Gandiva Bharamshena Adhairyam Tvagdahena Vidvidaha Gachita. The very fact that he's going to say, Arjuna will say next, that my bow is slipping out of my hand. That is actually a very extreme situation, because Arjuna was very, very particular about his bow. Why is Arjuna thinking like this? There are two reasons. One is Arjuna's original spiritual nature. Another is the material nature which has been superimposed on Arjuna by Krishna, because he has to make Arjuna fit to receive spiritual instructions. So he has to use Arjuna as the representative of the world so that he can teach the world. So Prabhupada initially talks about Arjuna's original nature, spiritual nature. Any man who has genuine devotion to the Lord has all the good qualities which are found in godly persons or in the demigods, whereas the non-devotees, however advanced he may be in material qualifications by education and culture, lacks in godly qualities. So it is for this reason that Arjuna became very much bothered. One can easily imagine that not only were Arjuna's bodily limbs quivering and his mouth drying up, but he was also crying out of compassion. Such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but to his soft-heartedness, a characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord. So Arjuna is not originally and naturally spiritually weak. These are all symptoms of spiritual weakness. It is important to understand that there are different platforms. Prabhupada often talks about the bodily platform, the mental platform, the intellectual platform, and the spiritual platform. The bodily platform is the platform of fulfilling our physical urges. Then you have the mental platform. This is the platform of fulfilling our emotional urges. Then you have the intellectual platform. This is the platform of fulfilling our intellectual urges. And then we have the spiritual platform, where we are fulfilling our original spiritual urges. The spiritual urge is the urge of the soul, which is to serve Krishna in the pure state of prema bhakti that comes up.
Same thing also in the segment. Prabhupada is in that department of body.
Similar, yeah.
Pranamaya, Manomaya, Manomaya, Pranamaya, Manomaya, Vijnanamaya, Namamaya.
Correct. So there are different statuses. There are also some statuses in between like that. So the bodily platform is just a gross material pleasure. Then you have the mental platform, which is the emotional status. Amongst people who are too much absorbed in the bodily platform, any person who is fixed on the emotional platform itself is considered to be a spiritual person. Because if you can think about how to make your mind happy and make others' mind happy, then they think you're spiritual. It's not a spiritual platform. It is an emotional platform. That is mental platform. The person who is on the bodily platform, there are some who are selfish. There are also people who are selfless. There are people who think that happiness means bodily happiness, but they think that I should be happy, others should also be happy, but they should also be bodily happy. Bodily happiness is the only happiness. Then there are others who recognize no, emotional happiness is more important than bodily happiness. Emotional happiness has its own value. See, a mother, she can carry a child who is very heavy. If the child cannot walk, she will carry. Say the child is 5 kilos, 10 kilos. There are some women who will carry. But if you tell them that you carry some steel 1 kilo or 2 kilos, 3 kilos, they'll carry some potato, one sack. The potato not for her own house, somebody else's house, enemy's house, for instance. You will not get. So because it's the mind. If the mind is satisfied, then even if the body is dissatisfied, you don't care. So emotional happiness is greater than physical unhappiness. It is greater than physical happiness naturally. But you can even tolerate physical unhappiness if you can attain emotional happiness. There are people who, for the sake of their son, daughter, they will do very great austere things. They will drive some 10 hours just to meet the sun. All kinds of things people do actually. Great austerity. Some people don't eat. They do great austerities. All of that is fine. When they see their child happy, they are satisfied. Because if the mind is happy, you don't care for bodily unhappiness. Similarly, when the intelligence is happy, you don't care even if the mind is unhappy. This is the next status, intellectual. When everything is clear, like people who are very intellectual, who study Shastra, they are bothered about some complicated problem. Why Bhagavatam says this in this canto, why it says in that canto. It's disturbing. And even if you shout, scream, whatever, they don't care. It has to be solved. It has to be solved. If it is solved, it's okay. That is a special happiness. That happiness will be registered for many years. Solve this, devotee, solve this. That's a special happiness, actually, intellectual happiness. Even material intellectual happiness. There are people who try to solve some maths problem. Some scientists cannot try to solve something. Great difficulty. And after some 10-15 years, when they solve it, they become very happy. To solve that, they can go through so much of difficulty. Even the wife might divorce and go, anything they can tolerate, but they want to solve that thing. This person is a criminal. I need to find out who he is. He's a detective. Wants to find. And he's lost his whole family. His children ran away. Wife is gone. His colleagues, they rejected him. He loses his friends. He bad health. Everything. No, but he has to solve. This terrorist has killed so many people. No, I want to find out who he is. It's an intellectual problem that he wants to solve. So intellectual happiness, when you get it, then you can tolerate all the lower happiness. So same way, there is spiritual happiness. So when you have spiritual happiness, you can tolerate even intellectual unhappiness. So these different platforms, they are very, very important. People are living in various layers. It is a pyramid. Those who are on the higher platforms, they are smaller in number. The majority are in the lower. So Arjuna, he was on the spiritual platform originally, but Lord Krishna is putting him under a situation that resembles Maya. Such symptoms in Arjuna were not due to weakness, but to his soft-heartedness, a characteristic of a pure devotee of the Lord. Yasyasti bhaktir bhagavatyake chana sarvair gunaistatta samasate swara harava bhaktasya tuto mahatguna manorathe nasati bhavato. Okay, 29.
Devapusta Sarirame Brahmaharsa Sadayate Gandhi my whole body is trembling. My hair is standing on end. My bow Gandiva is sticking on my hand, and my skin is burning.
There are two kinds of trembling of the body and two kinds of standings of the hair on end. Such phenomena occur either in great spiritual ecstasy or out of great fear under material conditions. There is no fear in transcendental realization. Arjuna's symptoms in this situation are out of material fear, namely loss of life. So by this time, Krishna has already injected material fear into Arjuna's mind. So right now, when Arjuna is speaking this verse, he's already in a state of fear. This is evident from other symptoms also. He became so impatient that his famous bow Gandiva was slipping from his hands. And because his heart was burning within him, he was feeling a burning sensation of the skin. All these are due to a material conception of life. So by this time, Arjuna's mind has been infected with the material conception of life. Not that he became materialistic, but Krishna puts him under that position so that he will be a fit person to whom he can teach Bhagavad Gita. Okay, let's stop with that. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare. Sakshat Prabhu Sarveshwara Vipasam Devacha Gauranga Bhava Vishnu Vishnu